Verbally Effective, your double Ina Esco here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 137 of the Verbally Effective podcast. You know, you guys can download on all podcasting platforms, but hey, we are now on YouTube and you can see all of the visuals we have on the Ina Esco YouTube channel. That's ENAESCO. So make sure you guys check it out. Today, I have with me a native Memphian who is a singer-songwriter, and he is the king of nostalgic soul. What's up, Jay Buck on the Verbally Effective podcast? How are you, Jay Buck?
I'm doing good, and I appreciate you having me. So glad to finally be on the pod with you.
Yes. Oh, you've been wanting to be on the podcast.
I've been wanting to be on here since you first had the idea of doing this, and just to see where you take it. It's just been a blessing. I'm just very proud to watch it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest. And, you know, I've seen you performed in Memphis numerous times, and you just, you know, you have an energy about you that exudes like soul. Do you understand what I'm saying? I can understand why you're the king of nostalgic soul, because you know, just have that energy about you. Everything that come out your mouth, your presentation, you know, you do a wonderful job at what you do, Jay Buck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You're making me blush. I'm too dark skinned.
How long you been doing this, Jay Buck?
Well, I've been singing since I was 2 years old. Of course, I'm like most people, started off in the church.
Okay.
And, you know, about 8 years old, I started singing out on my own, children's choir. You know,
wow.
Trouble the waters. I was out there doing that.
Yes.
You know, but I was still kind of shy. I was a very reserved child, so I didn't start like really singing like that until I got to high school. I joined the concert choir at Whitehaven. I started getting more technical skills about myself. Then I went to college and I put it down for a while. I didn't do it because
we put it down. Okay, we're gonna get to why you put it down in a minute.
Yeah.
Look, so you've been doing this a while. You said since 2 years old.
Yeah.
That's a very long time.
But I've been professionally doing it since like 2012. So it's been about years now. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna start at the beginning, Jay Buck. What part of Memphis are you from?
I am from Whitehaven. Grew up there. Some people call it Blackhaven. BAZ, Blackhaven Zone. I grew up right there on Chevy Drive, so I'm right up there by the airport. So
okay.
I ain't got a wink of sleep since though.
How was it growing up in Whitehaven? Tell me about, you know, your upbringing.
So me and my dad, my mom, and my sister, we stayed in like a small townhome community or whatever. And so, you know, it was one of them things where, you know, we wake up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody trying to steal the car, you know, that type of thing, you know. And it was always like, you know, that element of crime that surrounded us or whatever. But at the same time, like, we never wanted for anything. Like, we always made sure, my folks always made sure that we ate. You know, I had a pretty good life coming up, my childhood growing up. And just spending a lot of time in the street playing sideline pop, basketball, things like that. And so, you know, early on, I just was kind of more so into sports and art. I used to draw, paint, things like that. And so music never really was like a thing where I said, okay, I can do this, like do it. I always had an appreciation for it because my mom has a very diverse ear. And so she would have me listening to Donny Hathaway, Al.
Yes, my fave.
Aretha Franklin. Donny's your fave?
Yes, yes.
But then, you know, she had different people that she would introduce me to, like different rock groups that she would introduce me to, and classical music. And so I got exposed to a lot as a kid, even though we didn't have a lot. And so, but we always had each other. And I think that that's one of the things about Memphis that I appreciate growing up in the community I grew up in, is that, you know, we always stick together and look out for each other. Like, even if we fighting amongst each other, we ain't gonna let somebody else come in and try to come at us wrong. So, so I mean, you know, it was a lot of gang activity involved and things of that nature, but I pretty much stayed clear of that. There were times where I wanted to be a part of that, but my partner would never be like, nah, man, you need to go here. You need to go to school or something, you know?
Yeah.
So it was just a different time back then, you
Yeah. Now, were you like an A student or like a B, C, D, E, F, G? What we was doing in school with them studies?
But when I was young, coming up, I was about A, B, on average. But I had certain struggles with the conduct part of things.
The conduct. You was running that mouth in class, talking to the little girls.
Run that mouth in class and get into fights and things like that.
Oh, I can't see that, but okay.
But what? When I tell people that, they can't see it, but it was most of the time it's because I was sticking up for somebody else. Like I got this thing,
Oh.
I can't stand a bully, and so when I see
Mm.
somebody doing it, I just, hey man, like, hey, stop that. We're not doing that. And so coming
What
up
is,
with
what
those
is
kind,
your zodiac sign?
I'm a Pisces.
I'm a Pisces. I'm about to say you must be a Pisces because we don't like nobody bullying on nobody. What day is your birthday?
I'm March 20th.
March 12th.
Get the heck out of here! I did not know we were Pisces together.
I feel them Pisces vibes. I knew it. I knew it, J Book. Wow. Okay, now let me ask you this. Can your parents sing? Did you get it like down the line?
Well, this is the thing. So they were both in choirs coming up because we were in the South. I'm the only person in my family from Memphis. Let me say that part.
Okay.
Everybody else is Mississippi raised. My mom is from Holly Springs.
Okay.
My dad is from Oxford, but he grew up in Columbus, Mississippi, where my grandparents, we would go down there in the summertime and spend time with them. And so they were singers, but like choir singers. They were
Gotcha.
never the type to be out and get paid to sing and things of that nature. So I had some sense of musical talent, but like my mom tells me all the time, I don't know where that came from. We don't really have a lot of that in our family, so
Mm-hmm.
it's really just been a blessing from God, this gift,
Yes.
and I tried to fight against it for a long time.
Okay. Now, does your mom come out to see you perform?
Sometimes she does. Early on, she did a lot, but I think about 2018, my mom kind of got a little sick. She had experienced cancer.
Okay.
So she kind of had to slow down, take a step back. But, thank God it's in remission right now. So,
Amen.
yeah, but yeah, like my mom has always been proud of me, but she tries not to come to too many of them because she said I be doing too much up there sometimes.
Yeah, because you
I
do it
get a
for
little
the
mad.
ladies.
I get a little mad from time to time.
It's okay. That's okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna back up some more, J Book. So when you graduated from Whitehaven,
Yeah.
what did you do?
So after I left Whitehaven, I was a little stuck because I was in between. Like I wanted to go to Berkeley College of Music, and that was like my thing the whole time. And so I got accepted, but I didn't realize that tuition was gonna be $150,000 a semester. I'm like,
Dang.
who gonna pay that?
Right.
So that happened, and then I was kind of stuck. Okay, so what do I do now? And ended up getting into Middle Tennessee State University to be a part of their recording industry program.
Awesome.
And I went up there, and of course, I wasn't able to make the candidacy to get into the program because I couldn't pass that college algebra.
Okay.
But when I went up there, I was trying to study the business side of music because I was like, maybe I can get in on the business side, and then that can give me the opportunity to get my own music out there. But when I went out there, I met a brother named Baba Bakari, who sent me on a spiritual journey that kind of gave me a different education, just about our people and where we come from. And so I joined a brothers group while I was out there, and we were able to be introduced to sweat lodges. We were going on retreats together.
Wow.
And just learn different things about the Yoruba tribes and the Dogons and all these different spiritual systems that come out of, because I was raised Baptist, but just learning these different things, learning the gift of meditation and learning all these different tools that I didn't realize would help enhance my music later on. So I took a break from music because I was like, I want to know what it feels like to make friends just because I'm a cool guy, not just because, okay, I'm talented, so he can bring the girls around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I took time to kind of step away from music and kind of grow up, I guess, and become a man a little bit. And so I'm thankful that I took that path. And so I stopped focusing more so on music, and I turned my attention to sociology, psychology, social work. And
Wow.
so I have, like, inside of me, I exist in two different worlds. So there's a
That's
side of me
it.
that is truly intent. I feel like my purpose here is to truly bring people together and show people who they are, to hold up the mirror. And
Mm.
I do that with music, but I also do that with the work that I do in my day to day. Because a lot of people don't know I work for youth villages foster care.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
And
But
so
I can see how that goes hand in hand with what you're saying. You
uh,
want to help. You want to help.
I just want to help. And so, like, that's the thing. And so I always believe that I never want anybody to use my truth against me. So I turn it around, and all of my truth is out there because I want to make sure that people know, and people and kids know, that your journey is your journey. As long as you own it, where your destination is, it doesn't matter. As
Yeah.
long as you get there, what
Yeah.
happens along the way, hey, take some wins, take some losses. There are no losses. It's just
Yeah.
lessons and blessings. That's it.
That's true. That's true. Now, that's very interesting that you mentioned that you went on an actual spiritual journey, right? And I know that can get a little real deep on these type of spiritual journeys. Can we go into a little more detail about that? Because what I really want to know, you know, did you guys like ever experience I guess dibbling and dabbling into some of those, I think it's herbs, I don't know the name of them, that will actually take you on a psychedelic ride and you
Mm,
really see some stuff that you didn't
yeah.
know was going on. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yes. So one of the things that happens in the the Yoruba religion spiritual system, or Ifa, is we do divinations. And so um, as I, like, progressed through the group that I was with, I was blessed to become a part of those divinations. So I would sit with the Yoruba priests on the mat, and we would do divinations before we would actually go into the sweat lodge to, focus on what it was that we were going to be focusing on, what we needed to heal from, or what we needed to gain or learn from the ancestors. And so to do that, we have to cast out the stones so that the ancestors could let us know what was going on, what we needed to focus on in the sweat lodge. And honestly, it's more so the heat of the energy that we invite into that space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's less about the herbs, even though there are herbs there, but more so about the ability to get clean from the toxins that we
Mm.
to our body from day to day, like being able to sweat all of that out of you and to
Okay.
remind you. And so there have been times where I've been in meditation where I've, heard bald eagles flying and things.
Really?
Yeah, so those things happen.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, it was less about, okay, me focusing on, okay, what kind of cool stuff can I see happening, and
Right.
what can I learn about myself. And so when we bring ourselves into a spiritual space, we realize the grand nature of the universe and how we are just one incident of human life in a larger scheme, a much larger picture.
Mhm.
Um, and it really makes you appreciate God more, and makes you appreciate the universe more, because we're not the first people to be humans, and we won't be the last. And so,
Yeah.
uh, Lord willing,
Okay. Okay.
with the way we got it right now, I'm not sure.
I'm not
So,
sure either. And my mind is open to anything. But what is the biggest lesson you think you learned with that experience? And what is the biggest thing that you think you learned about yourself?
yeah, well, the biggest thing I learned about myself that I didn't realize at first is that I held grudges. I didn't realize that
Mm.
at first, but, like, when somebody runs afoul to me, it just sticks in my brain forever. Like, when you bring up a person, I immediately think about the time where they slighted me or the time where they said something negative and thought I didn't hear about it. And I would hold on to those things. And so I had these chips on my shoulder, and I didn't realize the hard work that I was doing, my work ethic was pretty much driven by people saying what I couldn't do, and not so much driven by I just wanted to do it.
Right.
So I had to make the separation of, okay, forgiveness is for me. I need to let this shit go.
Right. Right. Let it go.
Yeah, the biggest lesson from that is from moving forward, like where I'm at now in life, I don't take anything personal because nobody, no man or woman determines my life. But
Yeah.
my life is a summation of the choices that I make and the things that I've learned and the experiences that I've gained. And so if somebody doesn't like that, or they feel like I don't deserve this, or why is he there, or why does he do this, why are you focused on my blessing?
Right.
So,
I got you.
and if you're doing that, then hey, that's on you. That's between you and God.
So you learned that very early on in life, because a lot of people don't figure that out until much later. A lot of people walk around with grudges their whole life. Even with the input of social media, a lot of people are so insecure if somebody comments. If they hear the word no, they take it so personal, like it was something personal against them. You never know why they made that decision, so you learned that very early on in life. So, I know you said that you took a break from music, you went on a spiritual journey. What happened next for J Buck?
So I got out of college. I graduated college. Praise God. I made it.
Praise God. MTSU, baby. MTSU?
Yeah, MTSU.
Okay.
So graduated, and I stayed in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, for like a year after that. And so a couple of my homegirls, they were doing music one day, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go do these auditions. They about to do a show or whatever. You want to come with us? We want you to sing with us because we all used to play around and stuff, and just have little sets at the house, and somebody break out the piano, and then we just start singing."
Hey.
I was like, "Okay, I'm down. Let's just go." And so went down there. At that point, I was working at FedEx Ground. I ain't had much going on. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning shift, about 7:30 in the morning. Then I was working at a furniture store from like 10 to 7 at night. So I was just working.
On the grind.
On the grind, just trying to get it. And so I went there, and they said, "What y'all call yourself?" I said, "We're gonna be Mocha Latte." And so it was me and two girls, and one rap, one sing, I sung, one played piano. And so we had a little vibe going for a while, but then we ended up breaking up. And so
Why did you all break up?
well, I tell you this, and this is something that I learned early on, is that you want to do it, but when you're going into a group effort, everybody has to be on the same page. Everybody has to want it the same, and that's hard to do. That's extremely hard to do. And so when people start missing shows, when people start not coming to rehearsal, it got to a thing where it was like, okay, we'll bump it. I'm gonna keep doing my thing because I still want this.
Right.
I still love music, and it was clear to me that it wasn't the same case with the other two, as far as being on stage, being performers, and being artists. And so after that, I started doing shows on my own. I started putting my own money up to put on shows because nobody would book me because then nobody knew who I was at that particular time. I was still using my government name. I was Josh Buck. I wasn't even really J Buck at that point. I hadn't even branded myself. No Buck Nasty. There wasn't none of that.
Yeah, this early J Buck. Josh Buck.
Josh Buck. And so I would get on stage and I look out in the crowd. It'd be like 4 people there. Two of them was my folks, my home, whatever. And so, but I always made sure that I was giving my best because in my brain, when I'm on stage, I see 20,000 people at the time. And I perform like that because I was always performing like that. It's kind of like when you watch basketball, like you watch Russell Westbrook. He's going 100 miles per hour the whole game. He only knows how to play one way, whether he's up 20 or down 20.
True.
He gonna give it to you, and that's just how I feel. I translate on stage. But My grandfather ended up passing away.
Mm.
So when he passed away, that's when I said, okay, I need to take this thing seriously. Um, because he came to me in a dream. I was down, went down to Mississippi, spent some time with my grandmother before the funeral, and I slept in his study while I
Mm.
was down there. And that's where he came and visited me, and he told me, either way you look at it, God is good. And I ended up writing that song, and
Wow.
there I ended up creating my first EP.
Oh.
Uh, and so from that point, I moved back to Memphis to be closer to family,
Mhm.
and it's just been rocking ever since. So
Wow. Okay. And what year was that when you wrote "God Is Good"? That EP.
well, the name of the
I'm
EP was
sorry.
the J Buck
The
Experience.
J Buck Experience.
Yeah. I dropped it in 2015. I started writing all the music in 2014, though,
Okay.
after my grandfather's passing. So yeah.
Okay. Now, how did that feel when your grandfather came to you in a dream and you woke up and you remember it vividly? Because I've had dreams like that. You know, us Pisces are kind of slick psychic too.
We are. You know, they say,
Intuitive.
yeah, we're very intuitive. They say that we're the sign that every other sign needs, and I think that that's part of it. We
And
can,
give that nurture, that water.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, that's why people get baptized, right?
Amen.
Uh,
That's true.
it was really a trippy experience. He and I were very close.
Mhm.
My grandfather was a hell of a man. Like, if I can just really put it out there, like a hell of a man. Like,
Mhm.
he was a Baptist minister. He was a school principal. He was, a civil rights activist in the 60s in
Wow.
Mississippi during a time where, Medgar Evers was out there and, James Meredith, all those cats.
In Mississippi too.
Mississippi, yes. My grandfather bought land in Mississippi, I want to say in the 70s. It was like 11 acres of land. We still have it in the family to this day.
Wow.
I mean, he had his masters, and both my grandparents were educated. This is on my dad's side,
Mhm.
uh, and so when he passed, I didn't realize how hard I would take it until it happened.
Mhm.
Like, I knew he was sick, I knew he wasn't getting better, but when it happened, I still wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
There's no way to prepare. Nobody teaches us how to accept loss coming up. So when it happens, you just kind of have to figure it out as you go.
Mhm.
And so when that happened, when he came to me, I felt a certain sense of comfort. I
Mhm.
was like, okay, at least I know that he's still here with me. So he's not here in the physical form, but in the spiritual form, I talk to him every day. Like, as far as, just making sure that I'm tapping into that part of who I am, because I never want to lose it. Now I have just one grandparent left. My mother's parents passed away when she was very young. So now I just have one grandparent left, and I'm trying to hold on to her as tight as I
Yeah,
can.
that's a blessing to even have a grandparent, in our age right now. So I know you cherish her.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Yeah. So I mean, but that's the thing. I feel like a lot of the traits that he had, I kind of inherited a lot of those also. So
Mhm.
I'm learning more about him now than I knew about him when he was alive. And that's the interesting part about it. So
Yes. And you know what? When we get older, we find out more things about our parents, our grandparents. And we be like, what? Granny did what? Like, I understand what you're talking about because even today I'm learning things that I never knew in conversation with my mom. Like, I'm like,
yeah,
you never told me that. Like, really? And then you find out you're so much like, the people in your family. Like, I do that too. Like, okay, like I see where I get this from. I see where I get that from. So I definitely understand. Now, did you struggle, when you had to cope with your grandfather's death? Did you struggle in any way?
I definitely struggle. I struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that experience, I went into a dark depression. I was in a very dark space. So even though I had gained all these spiritual skills, okay, now here come the tests in life to see if you really are going to use them and be about what you say that you're about. And so that experience, that amount of grief, had never affected me that close. I've experienced death in the family, but never to anyone that I was spent years with, like being close with. And so I started drinking like extremely heavy.
Mm.
Uh, and, started hanging out more. I started being more promiscuous. Uh,
Mm. And you know the musicians, they can, them women, they waiting on you, baby. They like waiting. Oh, $10 a night. You know how they go.
That's how that goes. But I mean, but it got to a point where it was like, okay, now you just being a little, you being a little hoe right now.
Did you realize that yourself, or did somebody have to point it out to you?
Nah, I realized it myself because somebody pointed it out. And they pointed out, somebody asked me about a girl, and I had literally forgot that we had sex. And that's when I was like, okay, now I'm in a different space right now.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so it affected me, and I ended up, like having a situation where drinking and driving, had to sit for a night. And so I had that go down, thankfully was able to get all that expunged and get all that worked out or whatever. But I did have that situation happening. I mean, I've been around for a minute in the city, and so I'm going in, and one of the cats that worked there was a cat that I knew. One of the officers was a cat that I knew. He's like, "What you doing in here?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, shoot, get me out of here.
Look, help me, help.
And so even that was a traumatizing experience on top of the trauma that I was already dealing with.
Yeah.
But me being me, I went in there, made friends.
Look, your old Pisces, we get along with anybody.
Along with anybody. But it was the difficult part was the embarrassment. I felt like, I was putting my parents through, and we were able to process through that because I just know my dad is gonna like rip into me. But it was crazy, like, because he picked me up. Because my two best friends bailed me out. Shout out to Cody Little. Shout out to my boy.
What's up, Cody?
Yeah. And so
Daddy wasn't coming to bail you out. Cody had to come. Cody and the other friends. Daddy wasn't coming with.
Well, the crazy part is he came to see me while I was in there because he wanted to look at me.
Oh.
He wanted to see me. And so I guess he wasn't knowing that when you do that, you add on time, you slow down the process of getting out of jail.
Because, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when you have a visitor come in, it slows down the process.
Why is that?
You know what? If you ask me to explain this criminal justice system, child, I can.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I don't know why that is, but that's what they told me while I was in there. I learned a lot. They had a psychologist come in, like, "Are you okay?" Like, whatever. And this is, statute of limitations is passed. But I was, working at that particular time, and so I had people ask me, "Y'all hiring up there?" Like, come on now.
Wow. What did your dad say to you when he came to visit?
And he was just asking me like, "Well, how you feel?" And I was like, I just want to say that I love you. And then we just sat there and looked at each other for a minute. And he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna be out here. We get you out in a minute. And then we had to ride home, and that's when it was probably to this day the most impactful conversation that I've had with my father. And I'm not gonna get emotional, but
Okay, Pisces.
yeah, right. I leak very easily. Yeah, no, but he told me, he said he basically was saying like, I love my life. I go to work, I come home, I watch TV, eat. Got some bad days here and there, but he was basically just telling me like, I hope you love your life too. Like, and I want you to be here to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that meant more to me than anything else that he did. Of course, he still was like, man, we had just seen somebody, because we had literally just seen somebody. Now, the day before that, this is the day after Thanksgiving. So the day before that was the first time that we had went to visit my grandfather's gravesite. And when we were on the way back, we saw a brother that was pulled up on the side of the road. He was like, well, you got to be careful out here because, sometimes, they pull you over for nothing. It's broad daylight.
Wow, the irony of it all.
Irony of that happening. So we had a laugh about that. But, for the most part, it was one of those things to where it was like, okay, I hope now you get it. And
yeah. So you think that was a turning point in your life?
I think it was a real turning point for me. And to be honest with you, like I've had some other incidents that have happened in between that. Not as extreme as that incident, but you know, I started moving a little different. I started becoming more responsible and just thinking about how my actions affect other people. Because when I was in that dark space, I wasn't considering that there were people out here that love me, that want me to be here and need me to be successful at what I'm doing. Um, and so I kind of buckled down more and started taking myself more seriously. Because it got to a point where, yeah, I'm doing music, I'm going through my day to day, but I'm just busy right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a difference between being busy and actually working.
Yeah.
I was gigging, I was out, I was doing that, but it wasn't building me towards anything in particular. I was just being busy to keep my mind from going to that space. But what I was doing was limiting myself as an artist in the process.
Yeah.
And so when I was able to actually sit with it and get back on my regular routine of meditating every day, praying every day, um, journaling, like writing, like all of that, it started to pay off for me because I was able to write not only the Matters album, but my Bar Talk album. I was writing both of those albums at the same time. I just put them out at different time periods.
Mm-hmm.
I put Love Matters out in 2016 and then came with Bar Talk in 2019. But I had wrote both albums between the years of 2015 and 2016.
Okay, you just putting that work in. Okay. And you know what? You're so creative because I remember when you came out with Bar Talk, you put the visuals out on social media. I mean, and like you guys like really had a whole skit like a movie. Like the video was like y'all was acting like it was for real. So
Yeah.
how was that creative process for Bar Talk? Not only the songwriting piece, but putting out the content and the visuals. How was that process?
Yeah, so for me, I like to be organized when I'm going into this thing. So I have to think about like my budget because I'm an independent artist, so it's all coming out of my pocket. So I got to think about, okay, how can we get the best quality for the best price? And so for me, I network across all the time. Like, so I have all of these different friends that are in media and do video editing and do, lights for some of your favorite TV shows and, have been on some of your favorite movie sets and things of that nature that just want to help.
Yeah.
And I just had to lean on my relationship. Like, look, I can't give you what you're worth, but this is what I can do.
Yeah.
So just bargaining. I'm losing the word, but you know what I mean.
Bartering. Yep. You got
Bartering,
it.
yes. So just using the bartering system to bring people in for that, and then for the creative process, I always wanted to make sure when I do my videos that I'm tapping into like the everyday man, as much as I can. Even though I know I'm a unique individual, but I try to make it as relatable as possible. And I try to communicate love, the same love that I communicate when I'm writing songs. I want people to feel that with the visuals as well, because it's all a part of my brand. I have this thing that I say all the time, like love yourself, love your neighbor, love your neighborhood. The Bible says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So that starts with self-love, and so
Right.
it's an inside out process. And so with my music, like I always want to make sure that my songwriting is aligned with that. And to be honest with you, it happens naturally because that's just how my brain is wired.
Mm-hmm.
And so with the writing, I start off writing by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get with Cody Little, who's executive produced all my albums. And then he makes it make musical sense. And so then we bring in the musicians, we go to the studio, we lay it all out. And I'm very much so a person that I believe it's a collaborative process, music. So I'm always open to ideas that people have. Like, you want to try this? Let's try that. Let's try that. I'm not opposed to trying anything when it comes to music. And so I think just having that eclectic process and us buckling down, like I don't like, okay, I'm gonna record this here, then I'm gonna send it to you. I need you in the room,
Right. I need to feel it. Feel
Yeah,
the
yeah.
energy.
Gotta get the energy there. Like there's been times where we've recorded certain songs and then I come out the booth and everybody's crying. Like we're all having this moment and this experience together. Like we're all in this space together.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my thing. I try to make sure that everything that we do, God is present. Even if the subject matter might not be, as pure as what you might hear on a gospel record.
Yeah.
But to me, it's all God.
Oh
Even
God.
even the things that you would consider a sin or whatever the case may be. I'm talking about sex, or I'm talking about drugs, or I'm talking about drinking. God is present in everything that I do,
Mhm.
every decision that we make, and we choose to acknowledge Him in all that we do. And that's why I feel like, we've been blessed to really do some cool stuff with this music thing. And so I just take it all in stride. I'm just glad that I've been able to put music out that people come up and tell me, hey, Downtown, that's my favorite song. Love Me Back. I love that song. I heard it on the radio the other day. So I love that part of it. Yeah.
Yes. Now, you know what? I think it's interesting that, you are an artist in Memphis and you actually do songwriting and put your music out. We have so many artists in Memphis that
Yeah.
do a lot of covers. I mean, I enjoy the covers. And I think, the community of Memphis, they enjoy, hearing those particular songs. But I love when an artist put their own music out and perform it. Have you noticed that, Memphis is a cover city?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if so, why is that?
You know what? I feel like for a long time, the city of Memphis has benefited from the musicians that do that cover music.
Mhm.
One thing that I noticed when the pandemic hit is who it hurt the most, like first, like initially it hit the most was all those musicians that make their money on Bill Street.
Mhm.
And I saw so many news stories where they were foreclosing on homes. A lot of them ended up on the streets because they weren't able to get that tourism money that was coming in. Like, because when you performing on bill, you got people there from Sweden that's coming in,
All over, yeah.
all over the world. They come in, but they come in to hear that authentic blues sound. And
Mhm.
so I think it kind of got to a point where people just wanted to be stuck in that mold. They want to either hear that stack sound or they want to hear that blues sound that Memphis is known for. And so we just kind of leaned on that because it helps Memphis's economy. So
Mhm.
there was no one there to push individualism anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, there were only dollars put behind. Okay, let's promote this side of it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
So for me, I look at it on the economic tip. I just feel like we just were raised in an environment that does not encourage individualism. Uh, it encourages, going with the flow and staying in step with what everyone else is doing. So when I started performing, I was noticing, what everyone else was doing. I've been coming around. I've been sneaking into Memphis Sound since I was like 16 years old. I was supposed to be in there, but I was watching all of the people that came before me do this thing called music and soul music in particular. And so I'm a fan of everybody, but you notice what songs work, you notice what songs don't work, and then it's like, okay, what can I do? And so that process took a while for me to get a hold of because I still do covers from time to time because people hire me, people pay me good money to come in and do the covers. I don't mind that,
Okay.
but at the same time, it's for me, it's always been important to I have to have a piece of myself out there because that's my purpose, that's my mission.
Yes.
That's what makes you an artist is when you can say, okay, this is what I have to say. This is my interpretation. This is my contribution to the history of music. And so for Memphis, yes, we had Stacks. Yes, we had 3-6. We had Project Pat. We had Player Fly, Al Capone, my boy. All of those people, but blues, soul, all of that. But there's time for a new tradition, you know, to move the city forward. They kept it moving in hip hop, but for
Mhm.
some reason, when it comes to R&B and soul music, we became complacent and stagnant in terms
Mhm.
of promoting and moving forward the next generation of soul artists because there's no one else in the world that does it better.
Yeah.
And what happens is these people from these other places, they come in and they do it, but then they come here and perform and can't hold a candle to our performance.
Okay. Okay. You said something.
But I'm just saying, but they think they doing soul music.
Right.
but it's because there's nobody there to show them how it's really done in that elevated space of popular music.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm a fan of everybody, that's out. So I'm not calling any names as far as, popular artists that do soul music. I'm just saying that I feel like we have artists here in the city that if we just support it and push it enough, if the people get behind it, we can be in that elevated space. And I think it would do a lot for the city overall.
Yeah. Now, what is your favorite, I guess, era of music? Because a lot of us are stuck on the 90s. Oh, I love 90s R&B, or even further back. What is your favorite era of music?
I'm a huge fan of the 70s. I'm just really big into that funk era, that disco era. The early stages of hip hop is in that era. Like that heartbeat, that's what I like. I like Ohio Players, Isley Brothers, Sly and the Family Stone, Donna Summer. I love, just that whole era, man. Like just that whole funk soul era, Isaac Hayes, you know, Minnie Riperton, like Shaka Khan.
Yes.
I love all that. That's my favorite era, I feel.
And I'm pretty sure that music has influenced your craft. How would you describe your sound, J Buck?
If I could describe my sound, I would say that it is an eclectic array of, it's like just a gumbo of just soul and funk and jazz and sprinkle in a little bounce of hip hop in there from time to time. And I just feel like it's just a combination of all the music that I enjoy. There's a lot of rock element to what I do. Because when I was learning how to perform, I would watch a lot of the rock and roll artists coming up, because growing up in the 90s, of course, we had an evolution in terms of hip hop, but that's when, and they say that's the golden era of hip hop, but it was also the golden era of a lot of rock bands. You had your Green Days, you had your Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, all of these different rock and roll bands, and I would watch these guys go crazy on stage.
What did you like about the rock bands?
The freedom of it all. The freedom of it all. I said, man, some of these guys literally are just screaming into the mic, but the people love it and they losing their mind. And I love that. I love that freedom to just do it. Because when I saw it, I recognized it. I said, wait a minute, that's just James Brown. It's just that they're putting it, they're a little less refined than James was. And so when I recognized it, I'm like, oh, okay, they doing what we do. It's just that they got on, tattered clothes and hair all over the place, and they just moving a little faster, and it's all over the place. But I just love the freedom of it all. And so for me, like, I'm like, how can we get that? And so we had that same freedom in Black music. We just called it crunk music. That was the whole crunk era. That's all that was.
Yeah.
And so I'm heavy into that because a lot of people, I mean, if you're from the city, that's 3-6 all day. Like, they brought that era in. So I was like, okay, how can I get crunk but still be funky at the same time? So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to keep that energy of what I felt when I listened to Mystical, or when I listened to 3-6 or Project Pat. I want to keep that energy, but at the same time be soulful with it, and have a different message with mine. So
Now, since COVID-19 impacted us since March, how has that changed your life, and how are you adapting these days?
Yeah, so how it's changed my life, I do a lot of cooking. That's one thing that it has impacted. Which has been good. I've been saving a lot of money in doing that. So
what you like to cook, J Buck?
Now you're getting into my recipes and stuff. I can be giving all.
Can you cook?
I can't cook. I do a little salmon. My specialty is catfish. I can fry the hell out some catfish.
Okay, Mississippi roots with that catfish.
Do a little catfish, yellow rice. But I do that. I do a lot of chicken. I do a lot of seafood. I do a lot of salads, things of that nature. Cabbage, asparagus. I do all that. So I keep it clean for the most part.
It don't look like you put any pounds on over there. It don't look like you carrying a big gut around over there.
I ain't got no quarantine 15. I got about 5 on me though. I got about 5.
All right. So you've been cooking. You've been cooking lately. Have you been doing a lot of virtual events with your craft?
Well, the thing about that is I struggled with the virtual thing at first.
Me
During,
too.
during the early part of the pandemic, I was pretty much just spending time with my mom and my dad. And because my mom at that particular time, like she was still sick. And so I didn't want to like go out too much or do too much early on because I didn't want to come back and bring COVID to her because I still wanted to visit her and check on her and things like that. And so with uh, with the virtual concerts, the thing with that is I saw the writing on the wall kind of before it started happening with that. When you're doing covers virtually, now Facebook and Instagram find themselves in the music industry. And so it's different when we're live in a place. There's nobody from BMI that's gonna come down here to actually
Right.
see you performing their song and say, okay, you got to give me $20.
Okay. But online, they watching,
But
baby.
online, everybody's watching. And so, what I do have in mind, though, and this is something that we're working on for the next over the next 2 months, we'll get it together so it can be right. Is doing a virtual concert, all original music of mine.
You should
And
do
so
it.
that way, can't nobody come in and say, okay, we got to take this down because it's my shit. So
Yep.
that's what I'm focusing on next. So with that, I just didn't want to do it because the feeling went there. I really do thrive off the energy of people. And
Hmm.
so when I'm performing and nobody's out there to receive what I'm putting out and give it back to me, it makes it a little weird for me. But we did do one concert. We did Black Love Live with Cody Little, me, Courtney Little, Jared Richardson. We did that. It was a huge success. We had a lot of views and shares on it. And so I definitely saw the impact of it and saw the benefit of it. But it was also like in the back of my mind always, how can I do it differently? And so I think now I found a way that we can kind of do it differently. So we just got to find a location that's perfect for it, that
Yeah.
we kind of, intrigue people to tune in and keep their eyes on the screen. So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Social media stuff is, man, you got to find a way to keep people eyeballs on you.
Oh, because they tune in and they tune out
They tune
real
out
quick.
real quick.
All right. So what's next for J Buck? What's next for J Buck?
What's next for J Buck? What's next for J Buck is finding a way to uh, have this thing rolling like a smooth, well-oiled machine. I want to be more impactful on the business side of the music industry and create an infrastructure here in Memphis that promotes other artists, like not just myself, but I want to be able to bring other artists that I see and I adore and I admire into the forefront so that we can all rise at the same time. Like they say, all boats float. I just want to make sure that all boats float. And so that means that we got to get our business together. We got to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And we all rocking this independent thing. We got to really be about what we say we're about. We can't wait on anybody else to do it for us. We are the solution. And so that's the thing. I want to be part of the solution for bringing more money into the pockets of independent artists in Memphis. And so that's where I want to take it next. Let's go.
I feel you. I feel you. I've really enjoyed learning about you, Jay Buck. I've learned a lot of things I didn't know. I tell you that, and it makes the man that you are, and a lot of the pieces are all coming together. And I knew I like that's some Pisces energy. I knew it. I knew. Now, I did want to ask you this, Jay Buck, because, we have a very intense political climate right now. We got the upcoming election in November, countless cases of police brutality. Very recently, just yesterday, the verdict was announced in the officers that brutally killed Breonna Taylor, a Black woman. And, when I think of Black women and how I utilize my platform, I often talk about the misogyny of it all, how Black women, although, a lot of people cherish us, we are at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to respect.
Yes.
So yesterday was a defining moment in that, although we weren't surprised about how the outcome of the case was with the officers. It's still very traumatizing for me, at least. So, what are your thoughts on how this Breonna Taylor case unfolded on yesterday?
Um, to be quite frankly with you, I think it's disgusting. Um, and to your point, I saw someone made a post the other day that said that it's funny how people make so much money trying to profit off of looking black or being like black women. But then you turn around, black women are the most likely to not be treated correctly by doctors, y'all, the most likely to, not receive the proper medical care during pregnancy and things of that nature. And
Very high mortality rate with birth
very high
mortality.
mortality
Yeah.
rates. So with that, is you think about it, it's like, wow. And Malcolm had said years ago that the black woman was the most disrespected person on the planet. And then you fast forward and it's still the same.
Yes.
And, and so for me, when I heard the verdict, I thought about the fact that this is a person here who's an essential worker, okay, black woman, risking her life every day, helping people who potentially have COVID-19, sleeping to get up to go to work the next day, and you kill her
Mm-hmm. Just bust up in that shooting.
because of a tip that you got from somebody else. So what it says is you're telling me, Attorney General Daniel Cameron, you're telling me that it is legal if the police say that they think something's wrong, something's going on in their house, that they can break in and kill me. In the same state in Kentucky that has, license to carry, and they have the no knock policy where they don't have to knock to bust into your home. So you have a no knock policy, then you have a license to carry policy, and you have stand your ground laws in this same state. So if you know the law, you already saw the writing on the wall with this. And then you're married to Mitch McConnell's niece.
Mm.
So you're playing a different game.
Yeah.
So he didn't care what we thought, what black folks thought about what he was doing, because it's not aligned with his aspirations to be with them, the Republican Party. And so when you look at it, when you politicize the lives, when you politicize justice, now we're in a dangerous space. We're in a dangerous space when somebody can be murdered innocently. You give their family 12 million taxpayer dollars. That's not 12 million that's coming out the police department's budget. That's 12 million that's coming from the state's budget.
Mm-hmm.
To go to that family, and you think that that's gonna erase what you did. Bob and Jane was sitting on the couch eating ice cream. You see what I'm saying? And so when we look at that, it's like it's almost like there's nowhere on earth where we can find peace. And so like for the black community, voting does matter. When you look at what happened with the George Floyd situation, when you bring in a Democratic Attorney General who was a brother, he was able to get those arrests. He was able to get them charged. They were in jail. You got a Republican who was also a brother in this same situation. And only one person gets jail time, and he doesn't even get jail time for the bullets that went into Breonna. He's getting jail time because of bullets that went into a wall.
That's crazy. That is ridiculous. Now that is a slap in the face.
I mean, it's literally you telling us that we can do whatever we want to, and you can't say nothing about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, you talked to us about your experience with the justice system, the criminal justice system, and how, I remember you saying you didn't understand it, but you went through it, and it's a lot that we don't understand about the law. A lot of people don't understand how it's set up
Right.
for other people to win. It's just horrible.
Even
So
the whole process of how you get to the probation process and the difference between probation and parole, like people not understanding that part of the game. And each state has its own individual laws, and you have to learn those laws. But then, depending on your crime, you got federal laws that take precedent. And it's a mess right now because there's so much language that we don't understand about it. There's so much that changes from day to day that doesn't make the news.
Mm-hmm.
They change the laws every day, but that doesn't mean it's going to be front page news. They'll hide that stuff on page 6. You'll never see it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll see how this election turns out in November because it's around the corner, literally. I mean, I'm still traumatized from yesterday. Like I had an unsettling feeling waking up this morning because it was still on my mind. Like, I don't know, like, what can I do? What can I do with my platform, to inform people about how important it is to vote in November. So hopefully these people will get out and vote and we can make some changes because it's just horrible right now. I really believe and feel in my Pisces nature that we're on the brink of something chaotic, like civil war, maybe. Civil war. Like, that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. And tell me if you felt this. A part of me feels like almost it's necessary.
I do.
Part of me feels like you just gotta go through it. Like, let's not fake it anymore.
Let's try something different. Look, let's go for what we know.
Right. If that's what it is, if that's what you're saying, a part of me feels like that. But there's also a part of me, I don't like chaos and confusion.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if it's going to take us going through that and having those difficult conversations or having those difficult interactions for you to understand me and see me,
Mm-hmm.
that's why, like, when you see what you're seeing, I don't support anybody, being violent towards any other human being. But, the riot is the language of the unheard. And so when you see that, you can understand how on the same day, 65 years ago, they acquitted the murderers of Emmett Till.
Mm-hmm.
You acquit the murders of Breonna Taylor and think there won't be smoke in the city. That defies logic. I don't see how you got to that one.
They popping off out there right now, baby. It's on. They started protesting in Memphis yesterday. So we'll see the effects of that decision. Whether people like it or not, they gonna see us, right?
and my hope and my prayer is that on the other side of this is some form of atonement and reconciliation where we can get to a place in America where we are acknowledged as the descendants of the builders of this nation, which we are.
Yeah.
We built this nation. My grandmama, your granddaddy, my granddaddy, all of our great grand. We built this country bare hands.
Yep.
For free.
For free, because we ain't getting nothing.
And then they got the nerve to call us lazy.
Right. Like, we need a break, goddammit. We need a break. Where my money at? Run me my ancestors' money, please.
Right, exactly.
Oh, wow. You know what? We're going to end this off with 5 fire questions from Esco. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I just want you to, shoot off the dome and let me know, which one do you prefer, right? Okay, so let's kick it off. I really don't know how you're going to answer this one. Donny Hathaway or Marvin Gaye?
Ooh. Marvin Gaye. I got to go.
Why Marvin?
I go Marvin just because the body of work. He just was able to have we had Marvin a little longer than we had Donny. And Marvin had that sex appeal thing going for him.
He sure did. And so do you on that stage. You be eating.
I still a lot from both, but I probably stole more from Marvin.
Okay. Gladys Knight or Patti LaBelle?
Oh, I gotta go Patti.
Patti? Why Patti?
I gotta go Patti. I mean, when Patti get the flying, and them shoes.
She get the flying. Did you check out the verses?
I definitely did. Now Gladys can sing still, so she can definitely sing. But Patti, just the catalog, her music, it's just, it's timeless. Like, If Only You Knew, all those other kind of songs. Like, I just love me some Patti.
Yeah. Now, do you prefer singing or songwriting? Which one? If you had to choose.
Songwriting.
Songwriting, why?
songwriting because I believe in the power of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more therapeutic for me than singing.
Okay. Okay. Now, do you prefer performing covers or originals?
Originals.
I
Come
knew
on.
you was gonna say that. I knew you was gonna say that. Ah! Okay, last question.
Okay.
Which genre do you prefer? I'm gonna give you three though.
Okay.
Soul, jazz, or rock?
Ooh.
Your fave.
Hey, soul, jazz, rock. I love all three. Man. But I got to go soul because for me, jazz and rock and soul music anyway.
Yeah, I
Because
got you.
it gotta come from somewhere.
It sure do.
That's tricky on that one. I'm gonna go soul.
Go so. Well, J Buck, I have truly enjoyed you, my Pisces brother. You definitely gave us everything about you, and I appreciate that. Very transparent about your journey. And I know somebody is going to get something from this podcast today. And I wish you the best of luck. And I want you to keep honing in on your originality, putting your music out there, your storytelling, your words, because we need it. We need some originality out here because it's so saturated right now. We need you, J Buck. We need you.
We need you too. And so I want you to stay lifted up and stay prayed up as a Black woman in the space that you're in, doing what you're doing with the podcasting. Just stay with it, stay consistent, like we talked about earlier.
Yes.
This is your path. This is your journey. This is
Yes.
the version of you you've always wanted to be. And I
Right.
appreciate you just allowing me to share this space with you.
Yes, thank you so much. Let everybody know how they can get in touch with J Buck and see and hear about everything you're doing.
Make sure you follow me on Instagram at jbuckmusic_. You can also hit me up on Facebook, jbuckmusic. I respond back. Shoot me a DM if you want to. Check me out. I always post where I'm going to be at, my shows and stuff like that. This is my website, www.jbuckmusic.com, to see what we got coming up next.
Yes, thank you so much, J Buck, my guest for episode 137 of the Verbally Effective Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.